Hi there, this is Prague Talk, a podcast from Radio Prague International. My name is Ian Willoughby. My guest this time is Max Diesing, the man behind Maximum Underground, an alternative music shop located in Prague's Old Town for many years. In fact, Max, who's from the US, says he's just about to mark his business's 33rd and a third birthday as a fixture on the city's alternative music scene. But what was it like setting up an independent store here only a couple of years after the revolution? And what motivates him to keep running the business after all this time? We spoke at Max Diesing's store on Jílská St for this edition of Prague Talk. Max, in I think the summer of 1992, I was here visiting and I was in some kind of commercial music shop and I found a flyer for an alternative music shop that said they had everything by SST and it was on Jílská St. And I went to the shop, your shop, and I thought, wow. Tell us about the beginnings of your shop here in Prague.
I guess it's been always the same, always some problems, really. So at the beginning, either A, people did not have money, coming out of communism still 2 years, or B, there was no knowledge of the type of music I was selling. It was a risk. I mean, I just did it basically because I really wanted to open a shop with alternative music. That was my love, and it was probably stupid at the time, and maybe still is stupid. But 92, August 11th, 1992, which makes it 33 and a third years. Birthday coming up on December 11th.
Looking back, I'm surprised that there was even distribution for the kind of music you were selling. How were you getting those albums back in those days?
Oh, that wasn't a problem. I get it from the U.S. I spent a summer before I opened the shop calling up all the labels I loved, Touch and Go, SST. Getting distribution, it was no problem. They were interested in somebody doing something in that part of the world and just talking on the phone, and that was no problem. England or the U.S. getting stuff from.
And was there a certain kind of goodwill towards this part of the world? Because I remember, for example, bands would come here where they clearly were losing money just because they wanted to do something for this part of the world.
Yes, I think there was. Yes, I agree with you. Also with the bands, that was true. And I think for me also there was goodwill because I was not professional, but nobody is in the alternative world maybe, or was less at that time. So yes, there was goodwill. Not totally like in lending me money or like putting me on credit yet, but goodwill. I can't think of how it was, but there was definitely on the part of labels and people.
In Prague in the 90s, dance music became obviously a huge thing. There were all these clubs like Roxy and so on. Did that help your business, or were you involved with that?
I don't know how much I was involved. I was really turned on, I have to admit, by Prodigy, music for the jilted generation. And then I was also getting some ambient labels, Planet Dog label from England. I got the Artificial Intelligence compilations. Warp was putting out stuff. I was dealing with Warp already. I was turned on by the dance music because of the great beat. I love a beat. And so I did have not as much until later in the mid-90s, but from 93 even, I was turned on by that when that Prodigy album came out and some of the ambient albums came out, the Planet Dog stuff and the Feed Your Head compilation. Those were great. Those really turned me on.
And beyond your shop, what are your strongest memories of the 90s? Of course, now for people, it's a kind of legendary period. Also, we were all young and gorgeous looking in those days.
Yeah, 90s was really cool. And yeah, you have to put that bias on it and say yes, because it was my younger time. But I have to say that there was, again, this isn't fair because maybe there's just as many crowds and as big as crowds as then, but like for the hardcore scene, it was huge. When the bands came here, Roxy and Loha was packed. No Means No was here. They came to the shop, and I stayed open till right before the show, and people came in, and there was just crowds then, and it was a good feeling. I have to say, well, because I was more into the hardcore scene, that it was really good for the hardcore scene was big and very camarade type. That I don't see anymore, but maybe again because I'm older and I don't go out as much. But in the 90s, I have to say it was the best. Maybe I'm jaded, but it was the best for community, for the music, for other types of music starting to. There was much more community then and big crowds who wanted to listen to the bands.
As you say, your business is running for 33 and a third years. It's hard to speak about development over that long, but I guess in terms of changes, I presume the advent of streaming has been the biggest thing in music since you started your shop.
No. As I said at the beginning, there's always been problems. At the beginning, people didn't have money. There weren't as many people who knew the music, so that was a big problem. It was really niche music, and it wasn't big enough. Then in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was the recording. And in the 90s also, there was the rental places too. You could rent the CDs. That was a problem. And later on after that, you could just record the CD to CD. You could buy the CD and record the music. And that was a problem. There was a guy selling bootleg CDs just that he recorded. So he would come to my shop, buy all the hardcore stuff, record it, and sell these recorded CDs for 1/3 the price or 1/4 the price of what I was selling for. Then I guess from early 2000s, the first decade of the 2000s, yeah, you started the streaming, or maybe it was the best because the streaming hadn't taken over yet. So actually, between like 2000 and 2009 was probably the best time because it was between different problems and the people knew the music better. Then I guess after 2009 came the economic situation turned down. And then I guess the streaming started up in the second decade. And that's been the current problem.
Do you use streaming at home at all?
No, I don't even have a Spotify. I think Spotify damages music totally. Spotify is good for things, for podcasts and stuff, but I don't think it's a good thing for music. I think it destroys music. I do listen to like YouTube only to listen to new music, to get an idea on whether I should buy it and know what it is.
It seems to me that every year or two I see these headlines about vinyl on the way back. Obviously, a lot of the world's vinyl is made in a factory near Prague. Is the revival of vinyl a real thing, or is it a kind of a hype? Because it's still relatively very small numbers, right?
Yes and no. I mean, I always deal with small numbers, so small numbers are big numbers for me. Yes, vinyl, that's already getting like old hat. Sorry. People have been saying, oh, is vinyl getting big already like for 5 years, if not longer? So aren't you doing better because vinyl is selling? Yes, maybe now it is. But earlier there was the dance craze in the 2000s, early 2000s, and that was all on vinyl. That had to be on vinyl. Now it's not on vinyl, so in fact that's a minus for vinyl, that all the dance people don't play vinyl anymore. But the other people, like home listeners, are buying vinyl for collections and for listening. Yes, it is good. That is good for music. There's a whole big debate whether vinyl is better than CDs or anything, and I've gotten into that with people. I actually have been turned around whether vinyl is better, and people have convinced me that it's not as great as it was. But I think vinyl overall has a better sound. That's my opinion. And it has a better atmosphere about it, you can hold it. It's bigger than CDs and definitely better than streaming. So yes, I think more people are buying vinyl these days, and it has helped me in my business.
What genres are people buying vinyl in more? I'm guessing metal?
No. Yes, metal. Metal people are very tribal, very big in the Czech Republic, maybe all over. And they do buy the new releases of metal. That's the thing. I think with streaming is bad because people don't buy the new releases so much. They listen to it, they stream it, and they buy stuff that they want for their collections what they either missed from their childhood or teenage years and they want to have now on vinyl, or just that they've know the album and it is one of their favorite albums. They've listened to it 10 times on stream and they've said, okay, yes, I like that album a lot, so I'm going to buy it on vinyl. But the metal people buy new vinyl. Besides that, I think the classics in underground are big, and the younger people are starting to get older. And so those things that we knew when we were a kid, or the next generation has enough money to buy the things now that they listened to when they were teenagers.
Typically, Max, who are your customers? Are they local people, tourists, visitors, because you're in the city center?
Yeah, and this just might be me, because I guess like other vinyl shops in town maybe have a bigger Czech clientele. Although I have to say, and I don't want to be negative, but I don't think Prague people buy in shops as so much. So I don't think I have many local people. They don't go to shops. I get Czech tourists like from other towns, Slovakians. So I don't know, I'd say 50-50 tourists versus Czech people.
You mentioned earlier, I think, No Means No. Have you had many artists, touring artists, coming in here?
Oh, yeah. And I love them because they always give me free tickets. Swans drummer was here just when Swans played here a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, I didn't get a Bob Dylan ticket. I really wanted that. But yeah, like Pennywise. I think the nicest guy was the singer from In Flames. He was incredible. He was really nice. And they're like a really, not a hard metal band, but a metal band, like a metalcore band. And he came, and I didn't know. I was so embarrassed I didn't know him. And he bought like stuff which was totally not the stuff he was playing. The bands are really nice, like even Whitechapel is like a really hard metal band, and he came in with his wife, one guy, and bought like some hip-hop and some other bands, and the band people are really nice, I have to say that. And when they come in, I mean, I don't think you get the big, huge bands, although Swans are pretty big. Like Bob Dylan didn't come around, no. But the bands that I sell, like the alternative bands, yeah, they go out, or their roadies go out, or their tech people go out and look for shops and look around the town and go to shops.
Your shop obviously is called Maximum Underground. When we first lived here, the word underground had certain connotations, of course, in the Czech context, because it had just been a couple of years since the end of communism and it really meant something here. But today, does the word underground still have any significance, do you think?
Not as much, you're correct. Even back then when I started the name, when I decided on it, it was a stupid name because it didn't even have the word music in it. So sometimes I just put in the word music. I'm totally bad marketer. And I realized at the time that underground for Czech people meant something different than for me, because it was more like a Velvet Underground, Plastic People, 70s underground, underground resistance to communism, which was a different meaning than myself. But still in the same category. I mean, resistance, for me, it was resistance to the mainstream, so to speak, and supporting the underground, the bands that don't make as much money and are just like doing it for their love and for their fun. And unfortunately now, I guess, everything is more monetized, that you have to make money from it. And people have accused me of like monetizing the underground, like trying to make money from it, which if they knew how much money I make, they wouldn't say that. But yeah, it's more, everything now is more making money. You have to make money. And underground is, the punk movement was undermined by fashion, and you can get Ramones t-shirts at C&A. But, underground becomes overground over time. And then you move on to other underground stuff. So it is less of what it meant 30 years ago, but it's still there.
One thing that struck me coming here was how much it's in the tourist heart of Prague. How is it for you coming to work every day and going past the Trdelník shops and the Duck Boutique and God knows what?
No problem, really. It's strange, I guess, that I'm in the middle of Prague with all the tourists and the tourist traps and stuff that you can buy, trinkets or whatever. But we're upstairs, and that makes it more difficult because people are afraid to go upstairs in an apartment building. I have no problem with it. In fact, there's several shops in this area selling vinyl, and people have said that actually seems to be like a vinyl center around this area. Within 10 minutes walking of here, you can get to 5 or even 10 vinyl shops. So it's not so strange.
What about this building? I must confess I've been here many times over the years, but only today when it's empty and quiet did I notice, wow, what a building. Obviously it's a little bit the worse for wear, but do you know anything about the history?
No, I don't, not much. I should really know more about where I'm living 1/3 of my life. And the only thing I've heard is that it was built in like the 15 or 1600s, maybe in the 1600s, by a richer family as a townhouse. Maybe this big area we're in was for a ballroom. There is like a sort of painting on the wall which got covered up by paint, not by me, which might have had some history to it. The whole building is marked by the Monument Commission. I don't know the English word for it. That you can't do this or that on the outside of the building because it's a monument. It's a registered monument. But its specific history, I don't know.
My final question, Max. I really admire you for running this business for so long, putting so much energy into it and so much love and years. How do you motivate yourself, though, to keep doing the same job? Because probably, unlike most people I know, you've been doing the same thing from the beginning almost of your time in Prague. How do you motivate yourself?
Yeah, I have problems always in the morning getting myself up, but I guess that's just me. So every morning I say, Jesus, another day. When am I going to stop this? This is not going the way I want it. This is not going in some direction. So yes, it is very difficult. But in the morning, then once I get to work and nice people come to the shop, and you can talk to them and have a good conversation, 10, 15 minute, even half an hour conversation with them about music, even about their life, about where they live. I love talking to people. I just love talking to people and hearing their story for 15, 30 minutes. That brings me a big love. I love the music. I still love the music. I can still listen to Rage Against the Machine. I can still listen to really hard stuff. And I still try to keep up with everything new coming out. Very difficult, but I am getting myself into like listen to new stuff and what's very new. I like to listen to new music. It keeps you young. And I recommend that for people who are getting older. Listen to new music and you will shave 10 years off your appearance and you will be young again. Music I love and talking to people I love. So it is, I've said this word like 4 times in a sentence now, a big love in my life, having the shop and talking to people about music. So that keeps me going.
Many thanks to Max Giesing for speaking to me for this edition of Prague Talk, a podcast from Radio Prague International. If you're into alternative music and buy vinyl, CDs or t-shirts, why not stop by at Max's shop on Jílská St, right in the heart of Prague's old town. And if you're new to this pod and enjoyed my talk with Max, why not look up some of the earlier editions and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. But for now, that's all from me, Ian Willoughby. Thank you so much indeed for listening to Prague Talk, and talk to you again very soon.